Hello, cozy gamers! Today we're traveling into space to start our very own colony on an alien planet in One Lonely Outpost. We're gonna be completely alone, starting from scratch, somewhere no one has gone before. Thanks to Freedom Games, I was able to play the first 50 days, and this is what I got up to. The first thing I noticed was that there's no character creator, although I have been told that this will be added later. Instead, we're going straight into the opening cutscene, and from the get-go, things are looking pretty bad. The air is toxic, there's no life, and then our cat companion started to go completely haywire, which was promptly followed by a pretty rough landing. This was shaping up to be a real The Martian sort of situation. With our Terminator fried so that we couldn't get any supplies, it was really starting to sink in just how alone we were on this alien planet. But we didn't hesitate, and we got straight to work mining ore using our laser. Which is when we got our very first email from our bosses, the Pan-Galactic Parliament, who wasted no time in telling us to get to work and start farming. Oh, and that they'd also be taking a portion of all of our profits, but don't worry about that. I started cleaning up around my spaceship and found some very conveniently placed seeds in a pile of dust, before the PGP emailed me again about finding coordinates. This was by far one of my least favourite mechanics in the game. I felt like there was literally no rhyme or reason to the location of these coordinates, and I just had to wander around aimlessly until I chanced upon one. Finally, I managed to collect them all though, and I spent the remainder of my first day clearing more of my surrounding area before heading to bed. On the second day, we woke up bright and early to some farming supplies from our PGP overlords. There were carrots, pak choi, and some potatoes, so we could really live out the Martian if we wanted to. With our new seeds in hand, it was time to set up farm. First we tilled the ground, then with 3 lovely rows we started planting. During which QWERTY proved they were still a true cat and not just a robot, by getting in the way as much as possible. Finally, I watered everything, and our character suddenly remembered that we had some delicious nutrient paste squirreled away in QWERTY, which should probably tide us over till our food grows. Yum! Day 3 started out with a tremendous earthquake that shook the entire planet. But it didn't last long, and it did helpfully dislodge a giant rock, giving us access to a new area of the map. Our exploration revealed a beautiful area filled with crystals and even more new ores to discover. There were also new checkpoints to find as well, so we more than had our work cut out for us. Day 4 introduced us to the fabricator and let us craft our very first forge, which we just needed 1 more Eldrasite ore for, so off we popped to get that, and before long we had our first forge set up, and immediately gave it some copper ore to get smelting. Then we watered our garden before finishing up the day with a touching cutscene about loneliness. Day 5 to day 12 is probably one of the longest slogs I've ever had to do in a video game. I honestly almost gave up at multiple points because all I could do was water my plants and mine ores. We were offered a brief reprise with a message from our mum on day 7 to check if we were eating properly. She kindly sent a cooker blueprint so we could eat something other than nutrient paste. Fortunately, we'd been smelting all the ores we'd collected so far and were able to build this right away. And with the carrots we'd harvested earlier, we were able to whip up some roasted carrots. Day 8 brought with it the news that we'd be paid $500 every 8 days. Although we couldn't actually spend the money on anything yet as our terminal was still broken. It was nice to stockpile for the future though, and we quickly returned to our regular schedule of farming and mining. That's all we did for the next few days, which is also around the point my inventory started to become an issue that was not resolved even by day 50. While I was growing plants and collecting ores and cooking food and doing everything that I thought the game wanted me to do, I was being punished by limited inventory space. I would eventually resort to throwing items on the ground, which was not the easiest method for organization. On day 12, we awoke to another cutscene with QWERTY, where we decided to go for a seemingly innocent walk. However, along the way we came across something very strange. Some rocks disappeared right in front of us, revealing alien ruins. Of course we had to go and explore, but curiosity really does kill a cat because QWERTY sadly did not survive us nosing around. After getting corrupted by a strange presence, QWERTY was dropped to the ground, broken, leaving our character to panic as they realized that they were now truly alone. After farming for day 13, we awoke on day 14 to an exciting message. We were getting a new colonist. PGP would be sending out Aaron Hernandez, an engineer, to join us in just 2 days. With hope on the horizon, we set about passing those days as quickly as possible. On day 16, we were greeted by the sight of a brand new spaceship landing on Calypso. Instantly, we were running to the door to greet our brand new colonist. After being alone for so long, we just had to flirt with them, and I was not disappointed when I saw their character art. And Aaron seemed up for it too. After a demure handshake, we headed back inside to check out his house, which was gorgeous. While I was there, I asked him about our broken terminal, and he promised to have it fixed by the end of the next day. When I awoke the next morning, I had a message off Aaron offering to fix QWERTY. I was so relieved and picked up my forlorn friend to head directly to his space house. I needed to leave QWERTY with him overnight, so I headed back to the farm where I picked my very first potatoes. I really was living the Martian dream now. Aaron had also fixed my terminal, so I headed online to do some shopping. The minute I awoke, I headed straight to Aaron's house to reclaim my cat companion, and I was happy to see that QWERTY was alive and well. And QWERTY was happy to see me too. After a heartfelt reunion, Aaron wasted no time in asking about the strange alien signatures that he'd encountered while fixing up my cat. Understandably, QWERTY was a little hesitant after last time, and it turns out that it was warranted, as the moment we entered, he was possessed once again. The alien didn't have much to say, but thankfully they left QWERTY in one piece. While I comforted my feline friend, Aaron got to work investigating the alien machinery and discovered a way to get it to work. He gave me a new blueprint, which conveniently required a blueprint from his shop. I dutifully bought it, as well as an upgrade for my watering gauntlet, because watering my garden was taking longer and longer each day. Back at home, I was able to quickly and easily craft the basic circuitry and the interface relay thanks to all the resources I'd been collecting over the past few weeks. Rather than go to sleep, I headed straight back to the alien ruins to install the relay, which had an interesting effect. The relay terraformed the entire planet, removing the toxic air and making it breathable for humans. Aaron removed his helmet and I joined him not long after, amazed by our ability to breathe the air of Calypso. After a good night's sleep, we awoke to the news that we would be getting 2 new colonists, Jim Bob and Alicia, his daughter. With that exciting news, we passed the day working on our farm, mining more resources, and continuing to seduce our lovable hunk of metal. On the 20th day, we experienced our first solar storm, which damaged our fabricator. Sadly, our trusty engineer decided to stay at home, so we tried to fix it ourselves. The maintenance minigame was really fun and almost made me wish that things broke more often. With our logic puzzle solved and the fabricator working again, we headed out into the solar storm to tend to our farm. The weather effects were so cool and I had a really great time, although there were some flashing lights which may be disruptive for some players. Day 21 introduced us to Jim Bob and Alicia, 2 lovable characters who were just glad to be back on land. After meeting them, I immediately had to check out their spaceship because the giant face on the outside was so cute. And the inside turned out to be real fancy. There were different rooms to explore and even an upstairs area, which is where I found our 2 new colonists. Jim Bob wasted no time in telling me about his shop and sprinkler business, which I was really excited for because farming was taking a toll on my day. Despite telling me about the sprinklers now though, I wasn't actually able to unlock them until much later. The next day brought with it another recruitment message, this time for Dewey, a metallurgist. Unlike last time though, we hadn't met all the requirements to welcome Dewey to our colony immediately. So we quickly popped out to make some veggie stew, which meant that he could now join us in just 2 days' time. I finished off the day by trying to befriend all my fellow colonists by giving them gifts, some of which went down better than others. On day 23, after tiring from watering my garden, I ran to Jim Bob's house, but to no avail. His shop just wasn't available to me yet. We welcomed Dewey to our colony on day 24. He's a man of very few words, but he is our metallurgy expert and promised us new mining equipment, which was really exciting as I think I'd already mined every single ore that was available on Calypso. He sent me to see Jim Bob, who promised me some blueprints in return for fixing his hypercondenser. An easy feat for a mechanical expert like me. Or so I thought, because it actually took me a good 3 or 4 minutes to solve this puzzle. Finally, I managed to do it though, and I returned to Jim Bob for my blueprint prize. Returning home, I quickly crafted my auto winch after making some basic circuitry. And after a quick smelt of silicon, I had enough resources to make my prospecting suit too. I rushed back to Dewey, eager to do some mining, and he told me that the mine shaft was now up and running. The next morning, I was so excited to go mining, but we received another quest. In our role as Star Steward, we also had to feed our colony, and Jim Bob had some tips. We headed straight for his house and he told us all about the community box, which Aaron was kind enough to give us the blueprints for in return for some ores. But we'd already smelted all our ores, and with no more rocks available, it was time to go mining. To be honest, I found this part so confusing. The numbers were supposed to indicate how close to danger you were, but I couldn't make heads or tails of them, and ended up just sprinting around, destroying rocks and collecting resources as fast as I could, which, unsurprisingly, ended badly for my poor colonist. But I gathered the resources I needed and quickly crafted my community box. Wasting no time, I headed outside to place it, and after a few words from Jim Bob, and a notification that my terminal was now selling more items, I quickly set about filling it with all of the food requests from my colony. I did get a little confused here because I couldn't figure out how to split stacks. If you're watching this, it's shift click. Don't sell all your food like I did. We received another message from our strange friend the next day, asking us to return to the ruins, so off we went. Upon arriving, we interacted with the terminal, which uploaded something to the mainframe. Perplexed, we looked around to see what was going on and discovered that the ice was melting. As we watched, it transformed into fresh water right before our eyes. Which is when Jim Bob contacted us to say his shop was finally open and we could buy sprinklers. Naturally, we raced straight there and bought both of the blueprints as well as all of the seeds and recipes that he had on offer. However, we promptly forgot about our sprinkler, and when we returned home, we watered all of our plants by hand again. This brought with it new challenges though, as without the ice crystals, we had to collect water from the river, which took a very long time. Look at how slowly that goes up. On day 28, I finally remembered and started setting up my sprinkler system. My farm was too big though, and it was really awkward trying to fit everything in. But I did my best and got my first sprinkler set up. I also finished off the day by buying some new recipes from my terminal. The following day, I continued my shopping spree by visiting both Jim Bob and Aaron's shop for more seeds and supplies. However, I failed to realize the use of the solar panel blueprint in Aaron's shop, and then I was so confused later when my sprinklers weren't working. So the following day, I watered my plants by hand again, including the ones under the sprinkler. I then visited Jim Bob, who had a brand new food processor in stock, but I couldn't craft it without more eldrosite ore, so back to the mines I went. It didn't take too long to round up some ore, and I returned home to craft my processor, which I immediately placed outside and filled with scarlet sodium. The following day, we were rudely awakened by a strange figure digging through our trash. Cuckoo Chuck had appeared out of nowhere, and he wasn't willing to share any more information about himself. After another day of watering by hand, I finally remembered the solar panel blueprint and bought it from Aaron's shop. I crafted it immediately the following day and finally set up my solar panel by the light of the moon, which apparently powers it too. Day 33 brought with it a request from Dewey to share my geology information with him. On the way to his base, I noticed that the world was slowly starting to become greener. I shared my information with Dewey before returning home to my next community box, which seemed impossible. I'd only just planted sugarcane and wheat, but I made my best effort to get started. The following day, I set up yet another sprinkler on my farm, And the day after that, I received a message from Cuckoo asking for some packaging. I had some green waste lying around and set off to find him. But I had no idea where he lived. He always came to my house. So I walked around for the entire day, searching for him, before returning home to farm at night. And it was so dark that it was difficult to see if my crops had already been watered. On day 37, Chuck challenged me to make a drink from alien fruit and give it to Aaron. It was called a Nova Pot Burst, but sadly I just didn't have the ingredients required. I spent the next few days tending to my farm, collecting ingredients for this and my community box. It was during this montage that my lack of inventory space really showed itself, with all the different produce and seeds that I created just left lying on the ground. The mysterious presence reached out to me again on day 42, asking me to return to their ruins. The whole planet was so green by this point, and I was really excited to see what would happen next. Stepping on the strange circle teleported me to another location, where I finally met the creature behind the voice. This gargantuan alien slightly resembled a Pokemon, and it gave me a task. It was suffering and needed me to collect resources to activate its cryo vault. After a quick trip to the mine, I had everything that I needed and was able to return and complete the task. As thanks, the alien overrode some mysterious procedure for me, which created a huge portal. I'm not quite sure what it did, but I'm sure we'll find out. I wasn't phased though and continued with my day by collecting my freshly grown sugarcane, which I quickly set to processing to make sugar cubes. I'd also received some tea bags from the processor, so I crafted some tea and dropped it off in the community box before bed. By day 43, the PGP was starting to get suspicious and let us know that they were sending out an archaeologist to investigate. Jim Bob also messaged me about new bugs that were starting to hang around after our last terraforming stage. First things first though, and crafted the Nova Pot Burst to give to Aaron. However, when closing the menu, my character somehow consumed the drink, although I didn't notice this until later. So I filled up my community box and headed to see Jim Bob and Aaron. Jim Bob kindly upgraded my Omni tool, and Aaron just kinda looked at me confused while I tried to give him a drink I didn't have. The following day brought with it another storm, and an onslaught of bugs. Then I visited Alicia, who told me all the things bugs were useful for, and challenged me to make some food out of them. First, I need to create a bug catcher drone though. The next morning, with my new drone in hand, I set out to hunt the pesky bugs. It seemed pretty easy at first, but I didn't need just any bug to make protein balls. I needed a phoenix beetle. As I'd discover, they were very hard to catch. The minigame had 3 rounds to complete, and this bug only appeared twice a day. Later that evening, I also stumbled across the home of Eve, who I'd completely forgotten was arriving. She was quite rude and wouldn't talk to me though. Over the next few days, I wasted a lot of time hopelessly trying and failing to capture the phoenix beetle. The community box reset on day 48, and we finally had new recipes to cook, one of which needed both carrots and potatoes, of which I had plenty. I turned them all into winter root stew and donated all 193 of them to the community box, which netted me a sweet $9,650 and a total of $11,596 with all the other stuff I donated. I completely forgot about our other new colonist until day 49, when she literally somersaulted into my life. Linny was an energetic addition to our colony, and she promised to teach me all about fishing. So of course I flirted with her. Our conversation was suddenly interrupted by a big fish jumping out of the water though, but first I had a bug to catch, and I finally did it! With my phoenix beetles in hand, I went to my cooker to craft 2 protein balls, only to discover I was out of bok choy. Fortunately, some had grown on my farm, and I was able to collect them, craft my protein balls, and take them straight to Alicia, who rewarded me with a pizza recipe. Not wanting to miss out on fishing, I headed straight to Linny's house, but she wasn't home. I love fishing, and I couldn't finish the game without fishing though. So I returned to Linny's the next day, only to find out that she still wasn't there. I was ready to give up, when I bumped into her heading back to her house. So I followed her home and bought the blueprints for my very own piranha drone. After crafting it at home, I went fishing straight away on my farm. It was a little bit stuck at the start, but after pressing the boost button, I was in action and catching all the fish. The mechanics were the same as the bug catching game, which honestly I wasn't a fan of, but this is how I finished my 51st day playing One Lonely Outpost. Watching this back, it was very hard for me to pinpoint exactly how I felt about this game. There were definitely things that I enjoyed, like the lore and watching the world grow over time, as well as QWERTY, but the inventory issues and most of the mini-games really let it down for me. One Lonely Outpost is launching into early access though, so maybe those things will change over time. Thank you so much to Freedom Games for providing us with a key to check this game out. If you enjoyed this 50-day overview, please consider giving it a like, dropping a comment, and subscribing to our channel. This took me a long time to make, and I'd love to make more of them in the future for other cozy games. Bye!